Not really sure how to begin this, but I'll try to be as brief and concise as possible. Summer of 2004, my family was supposed to vacation in Big Bear Lake, California. My father was stuck in meetings, so he was going to come up from Los Angeles a few days after us. My mom wanted to drive up, super annoying to me at the time. But we didn't have a choice, and my brother, sister, and I loaded into the car and started the drive. I was about 14 at the time. The drive was uneventful. But there were various delays, and we ended up getting in much later than originally planned. Because of this, the owners of the house we were renting had turned in for the night, and we weren't able to get a hold of them to get the keys. Sounds like horrible planning, but apparently they were pretty strict about the time frame to pick up the keys. My mom, unfazed, decided she wanted to get some dinner, so we went to one of our favorite spots. She called my dad to see if he could make us reservations at a hotel in Big Bear Lake from Los Angeles while we ate. We were enjoying our meal when a guy came up and started chatting with my mom. I figured it was just a friendly local making conversation. During this, my dad calls my mom, and my mom excuses herself to speak to him. Apparently, all hotels were booked for the night. Go figure, height of vacation season in Big Bear. The plan was for us to drive to the nearest town and just find somewhere to stay until we could pick up the keys for our vacation home. Apparently, the local had been listening in on my mom's conversation and came back over once she got off the phone. I want to say there was nothing outwardly off about him. He was preppy, clean-cut, unassuming, and fit in with the clientele. He told my mom he had a big home with a big guest house we were more than welcome to stay at, and his wife wouldn't mind. Immediately, my reaction was, forget that. No way in the world was I staying in a random dude's house in creepy mountain country in the dark. No offense to anyone from Big Bear, but the back roads and woods get creepy. My mom, doing her due diligence, determined this guy was legit. Said he was in finance, my mom was an investment banker, and they chatted enough for my mom to determine he wasn't totally full of it. I called my dad, hysterical. He said I was overreacting, and that I needed to get out of the city more and accept that sometimes people are just nice. So, my brother, sister, and I got into our car and followed him back to his house. The guest house was really nice, fully furnished, but the beds were oddly placed. The guest house had 2 bedrooms, and instead of the beds being located in the middle or centered, imagine a symmetrical room layout, they were right under the window in each room. Just seemed out of place. Anyway, fast forward, we are all getting ready to go to bed. My mom hears a knock on the door, and it's the guy. He said he just wanted to check to make sure we got settled. Cool, nice thing to do. About 30 minutes later, he comes back to check in again. At this point, my mom was like, "Thanks, we're good. We will stop by the house in the morning to say thank you," and so on. Fast forward another 30 to 45 minutes. I can't sleep. I'm terrified. We hear this rustling, which is odd because the guest house was nowhere near trees or close proximity to bushes that might cause such a noise. At this point, I see my mom wide awake and look up at the window, like motioning towards the window with her eyes. Let me add, none of the windows had curtains. The guy said it was because his wife was in the process of redecorating. When I looked up, there was a male figure just standing. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I don't know how long he was there for. When he walked away, my mom waited a bit and then told us to get our stuff together. She wasn't messing around. We had my dad on the phone at this point. He was pretty much flipping out at my mom about something, but I didn't hear what. My mom said she was going to put stuff in the car and to follow her out. This was around 2 a.m. When we got into the car, we pulled around to the front of the main house so my mom could return the key and say thank you and get the hell out of there. However, when we got to the front, all of the lights were off. Not just all lights, but it looked like no one had been home. porch light, table lamp in front windows. Everything was black. Also, the two cars were gone. The local's car, and what we presumed to be his wife's car. After seeing this, my mom, at this point pretty unsettled, said we were leaving, and we proceeded to drive to the gate. The gate at the end of the driveway had been deadbolted and padlocked shut from the inside. It wasn't a super strong gate, so my dad said, "Rev it." We were in a big SUV, and just get out of there. We drove straight back to Los Angeles, not speaking the entire time. We have never returned back to Big Bear Lake, and my parents refused to speak about it. I asked a family member one night about it when he was drunk, and all he said was, "They didn't tell you. The actual owners of that house were on vacation." I'm assuming my mom or dad followed up with local authorities and figured that out, but never told us. This happened 7 years ago, but I still remember the fear I felt like it was yesterday. When I was in my early 20s, I worked the night shift at a bakery making donuts. I loved that job. 3 nights a week, I would work with a coworker, and 2 nights I would work alone. It was summertime, and we were having some issues with the air conditioning, so the maintenance guy, Mark, came at night while I was on the clock to work on it. The bakery was small and crowded during the day, so it made sense for him to come when it was empty. Management always let me know when Mark would be there, so it was never a surprise. At first, he was very pleasant, and I had no issues sharing the space with him as we worked. One evening, this changed. My coworker was running a little late. She said she lost track of time in the shower. Mark piped in saying, "We should all shower together to save time," and started laughing. It was creepy as hell. I had also mentioned that I lived alone, to which he responded, "Good, I have you to myself then." After that night, I realized Mark wasn't the kind of guy I thought he was. I stopped speaking to him unless I absolutely had to. Before long, the air conditioning was repaired, and I thought I was free of him. Fast forward to a night a few weeks later. I was working alone. It was 2 in the morning. I was frying donuts when I suddenly heard a loud banging on the front window. Startled, I looked up, and who else but Mark? He was calling my name and asking to be let in. No one had told me he was coming that night. He then started pulling on the front door handles. Luckily, they were locked. I ran into a corner of the bakery where he couldn't see me and tried calling my manager, but there was no answer. The phone started ringing, and from where I was hiding, I could see the caller ID. It was Mark. He was relentless, continuing to bang on the window and trying to pry the door open. My fear rising, I dialed 911. The police arrived within 10 minutes and searched Mark's vehicle. In the back seat, they found duct tape, a knife, and rope. But they said they couldn't do anything because he hadn't harmed me. Mark told the police he was there to fix the air conditioning. My manager called me back in the morning and confirmed that the air conditioning was working fine and that no one had asked Mark to come. So, whatever you had planned for me, Mark, I'm just glad I never found out. In 2002, I lived on a mountain in the Catskill Mountains of New York. The mountain used to be mined for iron ore, so there are places at the top, near where the radio tower is located, that have tunnels in the ground. If you fell in, no one would find you. We had a small house located in a clearing, surrounded by woods, with a dirt road that just barely allowed 2 cars to pass each other. In the summertime, we would wake up to see spotlights shining from above and shutting off, followed by the sounds of helicopters. We knew they were looking for pot growers. I had never come across these growers, but being near the state line between New York and Massachusetts, it wouldn't have surprised me. After a few years of seeing these spotlights and hearing the helicopters, It became nothing new until one night. Our windows were open so the evening breeze could flow through the house and you could hear the comforting sounds of crickets. I woke up because there was a bright spotlight over our house. Again, I thought. I tried to go back to sleep, but for some reason, I had a strange feeling. The crickets were no longer chirping. I decided to get up and check on our two boys in the nursery, then headed to the bathroom. After seeing they were sound asleep, I started to close their door when another bright spotlight lit up our dark home. It was then I noticed I didn't hear the helicopters. I stood there for a moment, straining my ears. The light went out and I shrugged. I headed to the bathroom. I never turned on the lights when I went to the bathroom or moved around the house at night. Even though it was very dark and there were no street lights, I knew our home well and could see pretty well at night. I went to the bathroom, and again, the bathroom lit up with a spotlight over the house. I finished up and decided I would head out to the back deck to see if I could tell what was going on. But as I started to unlock the door, I had a strange feeling, like this was not a good idea. I couldn't figure out why, but I did as my gut told me. I walked back to our bedroom, and the lights seemed to dim. I remember thinking that I had never seen the spotlights dim before, nor had I seen them stay over our house for so long. I paused at the bedroom door, listening. I decided to wake my husband. I walked in and saw a tall figure standing by my bed. I'm 5'6", and my husband is 6'2". He usually slept in the nude, so when I saw a tall figure next to my bed, I thought he had gotten up, realized I wasn't there, and was checking on me. I walked by the figure and even put my hand on his chest. I said, "I'm sorry, I was in the bathroom." The dim light went out, and the figure headed out the bedroom door. I suddenly heard my husband snoring. It startled me. Who was standing by my side of the bed? I don't know why I didn't wake my husband, but I sprinted out the bedroom door and immediately headed to the boys' room in a panic. I opened the door and flicked on a small light, just enough to not wake them, but enough that I could see the room. They were both in bed. I closed the windows and the door, then went to the kitchen for a knife. Someone was in my house. I started flicking on lights and checked every room. All clear. I checked the attic and the basement. All clear. I checked to make sure all the doors were locked, all locked. What? My husband awoke and came out rubbing his eyes. He asked what I was doing. I just said, "Someone is in the house." Before he could react, the spotlight came back on and shut off again. Now that my husband was up, I ran to the sliders to go out onto the deck. When I stepped out, the spotlight went off. My husband joined me, and we watched something in the sky. It didn't make any noise, hovering slowly over the trees, shining the spotlight, then shutting it off, moving a little ways, on, off, over and over, until we could no longer see the light. I still have no idea what that was, nor who I saw standing next to my bed. My husband took his gun out and did a thorough check of our house. No one was there.